Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it is your first time here. My name is Jess and today I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I read in the month of June, and I had a pretty darn good reading month in June. I enjoyed, if not loved, almost every book that I picked up. It was absolutely fantastic and I'm so looking forward to July being exactly the same. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk about the books I read. It's always good to kick off with a 5-star read, and the first book that I finished in June was certainly that. It was A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles, and I picked this up after seeing Katie from Life Between Words absolutely raving about it, and I've said this countless times, but we have very similar reading tastes, so I was pretty confident that if she loved it, I would love it, and it really was the case. So this is historical fiction. It's set in Russia in the 1920s, and we are following the story of Count Alexander Rostov, and as old aristocracy, he is out and the new is in. However, Alexander's life is basically spared because he has written a piece of literature which has given him a fair amount of renown. So rather than just quietly being disappeared, he is instead placed under house arrest. And following his interrogation, he literally walks out across the square and into the Hotel Metropole, where he is to live out the rest of his days. And honestly, I don't want to say too much about this book because I think there is something so beautiful about the slow way that this story just unfolds and the gentle journey that you go on. This book is definitely not for those who like pacey, plot-driven novels, but if you are all about your characters, if you're all about exquisite, gorgeous storytelling, then oh my goodness, this book is just incredible. Count Alexander Rostov will forever be one of my favourite characters. I would love to just sit across and have a quick chat with him. It was just so good. I could go on and enthuse about this book, but I don't want to say too much because I really think that the enjoyment comes from discovering the story for yourself and meeting the characters and meeting the Count, and just the way that Amor Towles has written this book, the narrative, even down to just his choice of words, it's just so beautiful. Absolutely loved it. 5 stars any day of the week. I would highly recommend it. The next book that I picked up was the first choice for the new book club that I run, Just One More Page. I will leave the information for that in the description bar down below. It officially launches in July, but this book we chose just as a soft first choice for anyone who joined before the 1st of July, and that was Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. So I picked this because it's obviously a very relevant and culturally important read, and also I had seen that it had been receiving an awful lot of praise, so I thought that it was a good one to choose, and I definitely think that it's going to be a good one to discuss because even me personally, I have such mixed feelings on this book. So the basic premise is that we are following a British black woman called Queenie, who at the very beginning of the book has recently split from her boyfriend, and we kind of follow Queenie on almost a journey of discovering who she really is, and along the way we explore racism, we explore microaggressions, we explore mental health and how culturally that impacts on Queenie, and just so much more. And if you watch my reading vlog, which is coming out in the next few days, you will see that I go back and forth on how I feel about this book. I think in terms of its importance and its relevance, this was a fantastic choice. I'm really pleased that I read it, particularly because it's about a British black woman, so it talks about the racism that exists in this country that I am in, and so I found it incredibly eye-opening. And also in terms of just the way, just small little things like the way that white men view Queenie's body, the way that they talk to her, the way that they treat her, it's actually just horrifying, but you know that it exists, and so it was just incredibly informative from that point of view. The thing that I didn't love, and that has given me the mixed feelings, is that the first half of this book is full of quite a lot of gratuitous sex, and to me it just came across as shock factor in there to make you go, ooh. You know, I understand being made to feel uncomfortable, I understand that this is reality for some people, and I understand that it wanted to be quite a graphic thing in order to make you sit up and pay attention to the way that Queenie is treating herself and the way that she views her body. I just think it could have been done in a slightly different way, and so it made me feel uncomfortable in that respect. And had I not wanted to read it for the wider reasons, I probably would have put it down and walked away. That said, I'm glad that I read it. The second half of this book was like a totally different book. I absolutely loved it. I thought that Queenie was a fantastic character. I was absolutely rooting for her all the way. And yeah, so very, very mixed feelings. I almost view it like two separate books, and the first half of the book I didn't like, and the second half of the book I absolutely love. So I still haven't rated it. I don't know how I want to rate it. I'm going to wait and have the book club discussion, I think, and just take in a wider set of views and opinions and then make my decision. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I think just go in knowing the type of book that it's going to be. But yeah, in terms of its importance and its relevance for right now in our society today, particularly if you live in Britain, I think that it was fantastic. I would definitely recommend it for that reason. The next book that I picked up is YA Contemporary, which is not a genre that I read a ton of, but I was just after something light and fluffy and easy to read, and I do have a couple of YA Contemporary on my shelves. So I picked up Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, and I flew through this book. I read it in one sitting. It took me no more than a couple of hours. I mean, it's a bit of a cheat because some of the chapters just look like that, but yeah, in terms of what I was after, this ticked the boxes. So this is the story of Maddie. She is 17 years old and she is allergic to the world. She has a nurse and she sees her mum, who is a doctor, and that is pretty much it, until one day a family move in next door. There is a teenage boy in that family and they begin a relationship, and you watch their relationship blossom, and yeah, just the whole story kind of unfolds from that point. I gave this 3.75 stars. I guessed the big reveal from like page 3. It's not very complex, but as I said, in terms of what I wanted, a light, sweet, easy to read, heartwarming book, then this definitely ticked the boxes, and I would definitely recommend it. And I'm interested to watch the film. I like feel-good films and that kind of thing, so I think that this one will also fit that bill. But yeah, it just is what it is. Mandy and Ollie's romance is very sweet and very gentle and very innocent, and I enjoyed it immensely. Next, I picked up The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. This is the second book in the Remnant Chronicles trilogy. I talked about the first one in my last wrap-up, which I will leave linked down below if you are interested. And this one picks up immediately where that book finishes. So obviously, with it being a sequel, and if you haven't read the first one, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it, but this is a YA fantasy. We are following our protagonist Leah, who is a young woman who is the first princess of the Kingdom of Morrigan, and in the first book we meet her on her wedding day, when she is basically being auctioned off in order to forge an alliance with a neighbouring kingdom. Leah flees on the day of her wedding and she is pursued by two individuals. She is pursued by an assassin and she is pursued by the prince. And the twist in the first book is that you don't know, you read from both the assassin and the prince's perspectives, and you don't know who is who. You do know who is who by the time you get to this book, which obviously gives it much more added depth, and the story can kind of blossom and unfurl. I did have a few issues with the first book, and I did continue to have a few issues with this book. There is definitely an edge of woman needs rescuing by man. Leah is quite a strong female protagonist, but every now and then there's just this little hint that she couldn't do it on her own. She's not quite as kick-ass as all that, and that doesn't sit very well with me. And also, we read in this book from the perspective of another female character, and I found her voice to be a little bit bland. I didn't think that her voice was that different from that of Leah. So they were just minor problems. It was very enjoyable. I gave it 3.75 stars. I'm very much looking forward to reading the last one. There was a little bit of a twist that kicked off in this one, so I'm interested to see how Mary E. Pearson is going to wrap the series up. It's been very enjoyable to read this. I have no major complaints. Yeah, I think that it is an interesting concept, and I'm interested to see how it's all going to tie together. Sorry if I have moved a little bit. I ran out of space on my memory card. So final book that I read this month, and if we started with a 5-star read, we are also going to end on a high, because this was definitely one of my favourite books of the month, and that was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was a much anticipated read for me. I read Daisy Jones and the Six by the same author and absolutely loved it. I thought it was so well done. Her writing style just absolutely clicked with me, and so I was really looking forward to reading this one. And any time that I mentioned that I had read and enjoyed Daisy Jones, people would say to me, oh, you have to pick up Evelyn Hugo, and I am so glad I did. So this is historical fiction. We are following the story of Hollywood style glamour icon Evelyn Hugo, who began her career in the 1950s and then has just become more and more famous as time has passed. And in the present day, she decides to sell her story to a fairly unknown journalist called Monique, and Monique has no idea why Evelyn has chosen her. So she goes along, and Evelyn begins to reveal the truth behind not only her 7 husbands but her career in general. I absolutely love this. Taylor Jenkins Reid just has this way of writing that makes the story that she is telling so incredibly believable and so realistic. And I honestly, exactly the same as with Daisy Jones and the Six, I found myself picking up my phone to Google the characters in this book, because I was like, oh, I wonder if they're real. She just captures the time period that she is writing about so incredibly well, and just the story and the book itself is moving and lovely and gorgeous, and I loved Evelyn Hugo as a character. It was just fantastically executed. I gave this 4.5 stars. It lost half a star because it has 2 major twists in it, and I don't know whether it's just because I've become the type of reader, and I hope it's not this, but I'm beginning to think I might have become the type of reader who is constantly looking for the twists, and so I'm often guilty of guessing the twists before they happen. But right at the beginning of the book, I thought, oh, I bet such and such has happened, and they were the 2 major twists in the book, and so I felt a little bit disappointed in that, and so it lost half a star, because honestly this easily could have been a 5-star read. I will highly recommend it to anyone who will listen. I thought it was fantastic, just so good. I am now desperately going to look for anything that Taylor Jenkins Reid has written, because there is something about her writing style that I just adore. I think she is a fantastic author, and this book in particular is just so good. Evelyn is just this unapologetic, brash character. She just is who she is, and she makes no apology for it, and it's fantastic. I think I've said fantastic about 50 times in this little clip, but yeah, I just really loved it. Really recommend it. It's all about love, it's about relationship, it's about what's important in life. Is it family? Is it money? Is it fame? It's about embracing and owning who you are as a person, with a load of Hollywood glamour sprinkled in, and yeah, I just thought it was great, and I would definitely recommend it. So there you go, they are the books that I read in the month of June. As I said, I had an excellent reading month. I have high hopes for July, and I really hope that my month is the same. Do let me know what your favourite read in June was. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I have shared about today. I always love to chat more with you in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more content. Take care, and I will see you all soon.